Hi, welcome to Suspect Video. So up here at the front, right in the door, is our stock. It's the stuff that we sell. It's a lot of horror, it's a lot of international sci-fi, and a lot of exploitation and hard to find obscurities on DVD and DVD-R. This is our books. We've always carried a lot of books. We get really specific. We've got whole sections on things like Lovecraft or Alan Moore. Zombies over here, sexploitation over there, Hammer and related. We carry art by certain artists as it relates usually to horror. This is our magazine section, which used to be 2 of these wide, and now it's sadly down to this, as there's just less and less magazines that people are still investing in. So graphic novels related, a lot of horror and film culture magazines here. So this is our documentary section. Underneath it we have a whole music, anime. This is our sci-fi and fantasy, which sort of spills into horror, director by director in some cases when we have enough for it. This here is the Ludovico Film Institute, the official wall of the club and of the mortuary, which gets turned over every once in a while with a new list. And here, this is our new wall. Most of what we have in here we rent is a week. This is everything that's new, and it's cross-genre. It's really everything just alphabetically in one big place. This here is mostly stoner cartoons. A lot of our clientele are high a lot, and they like the cartoons. Classic television from the first wave of those diabolically catchy HBO shows like Oz and The Sopranos. The Wire, which still and forever will do really well for us here. It just finds newer and newer generations of fans. This is all British TV. We have a lot more, but this is just what's on the feature wall. Over here, we used to have staff picks, and we made this whole wall we just call the Gems wall. And it's a mix of cross-genre of anything we think is interesting and doesn't really get enough play, but that people would really like if they knew what it was. And down here we have the whole world of movies. This whole side is Canada and American, domestic, Hollywood. And this we have international, kind of continent by continent. This is where our Asian stuff starts. And then here we have Europe, Africa, Russia, really Eastern Bloc, anything you can think of internationally that ever made movies is somewhere in here. These are movies exclusively about porking. There's different genres. There's documentaries about movies about porking. Just a whole lot of pornography, a lot of 70s classics, whatever you like, whatever floats your boat. And this here is really what we're known the most for, and it's our exploitation section, Grindhouse. Just 70s exploitation across all the genres, from blaxploitation, drug-related movies, anything like Corman, the Italians, the French perverts, giant monsters, biker gangs, they're all in here. So that's it, Suspect Video, where people come together. And people come. Hey! We really do have a lot of pornography.
So tell me about the events of February the 20th, 2008.
I was nowhere near anywhere. No, that was the fire. I remember it was a pretty shocking period. What's funny is that I wasn't home that evening. I was me and my wife stayed over at my mother's place, and so we were there. And we'd gotten up in the morning, and I phoned home just to retrieve my messages. And I'm kind of surprised how early some of my friends get up or how late they go to bed, because there was a series of messages saying, I don't know if you know this, but you should probably turn on the news. And I think your store is on fire. And so, of course, I turned on the news, and different reports in City TV and CBC, they were covering it, because it was quite an enormous fire, if you remember. I think, I can't remember what the specifics were, but it's over 100 firefighters. It took like 25 hours to put out, and it was enormous. A couple of buildings collapsed. The Duke's cycle collapsed. But I turned on the TV, and I remember distinctly looking at a helicopter shot of the block, and there was a lot of smoke, so you couldn't quite see the buildings, but I generally knew the sizes of them all. So I remember standing there with my wife kind of counting eastward from the corner, and yeah, we were directly in the center of it. And I was pretty surprised. But it seemed like such an enormous kind of occurrence that there's really nothing I could do by going down there. And I didn't go down to see the location until a day or two later. And we weren't allowed in there at all, like nowhere near it, because it was structurally, I guess, flawed, damaged. And I remember the one thing I wanted to save, well, I mean, I wanted to save a lot of things, but a friend of mine had painted the sign. I don't know if you remember it, but it was a hand-painted sign, and the motif on it was twins. So we had, Chang and Eng, the Siamese twin. We had the two girls from The Shining, and so on. And we had a painting of me and Meryl as Siamese twins as well. And so I remember going down there with the artist, and we showed up with our pathetic little electric drills and asked them if we could go in there and take the sign out. And he just looked at us like we were, children, and said, "No, boys, no, you're not going anywhere near there." And they ended up tearing it down. And yeah, a couple of days later, I was across the street above a bar, and I watched the excavator kind of like pull up the floor. And everything, our vantage point was great. You could see inside to the basement, and fire hadn't touched it. But everything was moved around because I guess it just flooded to, I think it was 8 feet. And so everything moved around. And it's just, they pulled up all the stuff, looked at it, and then just sort of shoved everything back. It was a very surreal moment, but kind of comedic in some ways too. But it was a clean break. What was funny was that because it was so complete, it was just done. I couldn't even go in to retrieve anything, to clean up anything, nothing. It was, the end. That's it.
Did you toy with the idea of opening up another location?
Yeah. What's funny is that our lease was coming up, I think, a month or two later. And I was actively looking around because we didn't want to stay there, surprisingly enough. But yeah, the whole idea of starting from scratch was pretty daunting to me. Plus, it would have taken a fair amount of time to try and acquire all these things. And a lot of them were maybe not, one of a kinds, but certainly, one of 10 of a kind. And so ultimately I just decided on focusing on this place. And yeah, I mean, this place was always my favorite anyway. I mean, a lot of people who really love the Queen Street store would take some umbrage or offense to that, but because it's the first and because it's so kind of, I don't know, dingy, and I can look around and see every process, every change, which was never documented, stupidly enough, but yeah. So I could easily live with just having this one. It would probably be different if it was the reverse.